Welcome back. I'm your host at Navy Legends, and I want to start this one with a classification problem. Not a weapons classification, an intelligence classification. Because the single most consequential intelligence failure that preceded the events of January 19th, 2027, in the Sea of Japan was not a failure to collect information. The satellites were overhead. The signals were being collected. The acoustic monitoring network was running. The failure was a classification failure, a failure to correctly interpret what the available information was telling analysts about what the Korean People's Navy's newest ballistic missile submarine was actually capable of, and what its commanding officer was actually willing to do with that capability when ordered to do so. The North Korean submarine designation is Sinpo-C. Western analysts gave it the name Hero of the Republic class. It displaces approximately 3,000 tons submerged. It carries 4 launch tubes for submarine-launched ballistic missiles. For 2 years, the intelligence community's assessment of its operational SLBM, the Pukguksong-3, classified it as a system with developmental range limitations that effectively restricted its targeting to South Korean and Japanese territory. The assessment concluded, with moderate confidence, that the Pukguksong-3 as currently deployed could not reliably target a maneuvering surface vessel at extended ranges due to limitations in its terminal guidance architecture. The assessment was wrong. It was wrong about the terminal guidance. It was wrong about the range. And it was wrong about the operational readiness of the one Sinpo-C that the Korean People's Navy had quietly deployed to a patrol position 340 nautical miles east of the Korean coast, where it had been running slow, deep, and silent for 11 days before the morning of January 19th, 2027. The date is January 19th, 2027. The time is 2:28 local. The Sea of Japan, approximately 280 nautical miles southwest of the port of Maizuru, Japan. The USS Theodore Roosevelt, CVN-71, a Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, is the centerpiece of Carrier Strike Group 9, operating in the Sea of Japan as part of Exercise Foal Eagle Plus, the expanded annual USROK Combined Forces exercise, now in its 5th day. The strike group screen consists of the guided missile cruiser USS Bunker Hill, CG-52, and the guided missile destroyers USS Russell, DDG-59, USS Paul Hamilton, DDG-60, and USS Kidd, DDG-100. 2E-2D Advanced Hawkeyes from VAW-113 are maintaining continuous airborne radar coverage, 180 nautical miles to the northwest toward the Korean coast, 160 nautical miles to the southwest. The fast attack submarine USS Springfield, SSN-761, is running submerged 40 nautical miles west of the surface group on the primary threat axis. The Springfield is on the right axis. She has been listening carefully to the right body of water. But the Sinpo-C did not come from the west. She transited from a position east of the Korean coast, moving slowly southeast over 11 days on her AIP battery system, putting herself 340 nautical miles east of the coast, and then holding stationary, neutrally buoyant, at 220 meters depth, generating no detectable acoustic signature, for 36 hours, while her fire control team completed their targeting solution. She approached from the east. The axis, nobody was watching. At 2:28:11, the Sinpo-C releases a Pukguksong-3 ballistic missile from her number 2 launch tube using a cold launch ejection system. A gas generator ejects the missile from the tube, and the solid fuel first stage ignites at approximately 30 meters above the surface. The launch transient, the acoustic signature of the cold launch ejection and the first stage ignition, is detectable in principle by the acoustic sensors of a properly positioned sonar platform. The Springfield is 280 nautical miles west of the launch point. The detection range of a Pukguksong-3 launch transient for an AN/BQQ-10 sonar system at that range under the acoustic propagation conditions present in the Sea of Japan on January 19th, is approximately 0. The Springfield hears nothing. The E-2D Hawkeye, operating 160 nautical miles to the southwest, call sign Sentry 41, registers the launch at 2:28:19. 8 seconds after ignition. Its ADS-18 radar system detects the rising ballistic track at an altitude of approximately 4,200 meters, climbing steeply on a southward trajectory. The track's apogee profile and downrange solution begin computing immediately. The track is rising fast, faster than an intermediate-range ballistic missile in a lofted trajectory, more consistent with a depressed trajectory flight profile. A depressed trajectory SLBM is a weapon fired at a deliberately reduced apogee to shorten flight time at the cost of range. The Pukguksong-3 in this configuration is trading maximum range for minimum flight time. The Aegis combat system aboard the USS Bunker Hill receives the E-2D track data at 2:28:23, 12 seconds after launch. The system computes the impact solution in 2.9 seconds. The projected impact point is resolving. It is moving as additional track data refines the ballistic curve, and it is centering on the projected position of the USS Theodore Roosevelt. Flight time from launch to projected impact, 6 minutes and 41 seconds. At 2:28:26, the Bunker Hill's TAO has the full picture. He transmits the missile warning to the strike group simultaneously on every relevant circuit and authorizes launch of SM-3 Block 2A interceptors from the forward VLS bank. The first SM-3-2A leaves the launcher at 2:28:44, 33 seconds after the missile broke the surface of the Sea of Japan. Then a second, then a third. 3 SM-3-2A rounds airborne in a 22-second sequence. The Theodore Roosevelt's captain, woken by the missile warning at 2:28:28, is on the bridge at 2:29:04. He orders maximum speed and a hard turn to port, the standard carrier evasion maneuver, designed to place the ship's stern toward the threat axis and maximize the distance the carrier can cover before impact. At 31 knots, the Roosevelt will cover approximately 3.2 nautical miles in the 6 minutes remaining before the projected impact window. Against a ballistic missile with a 10-meter CEP, the assessed accuracy of the Pukguksong-3 against a fixed target, a 3.2 nautical mile maneuver, is highly significant. Against a Pukguksong-3 with a terminal guidance seeker that the intelligence community incorrectly assessed as non-functional against maneuvering targets, it may not be enough. The Pukguksong-3 is not a simple ballistic projectile. At the apogee of its depressed trajectory, approximately 420 kilometers altitude, the missile's post-boost vehicle separates and releases the maneuvering re-entry vehicle. The MARV carries a 650-kilogram warhead and a terminal guidance system that combines passive radar homing, detecting the carrier's own radar emissions, with an infrared imaging seeker that identifies the thermal signature of the carrier's 4-shaft propulsion system. The intelligence community's assessment had rated this dual-mode seeker as developmental, not operationally effective. The assessment was based on a North Korean test program that produced 2 guidance failures and 1 partial success over 3 years of testing. The 4th test, conducted 9 months before January 19th, was not observed by U.S. intelligence collection assets. It was successful. The first SM-3-2A intercept attempt occurs at 2:31:17, 2 minutes and 53 seconds after launch, at an altitude of 380 kilometers. The LEAP KKV is tracking the MARV on its onboard seeker. The MARV is not maneuvering at this altitude. It conserves its attitude control propellant for the terminal phase. The KKV's intercept geometry is good. The closing velocity is approximately 11.8 kilometers per second. The intercept occurs at 2:31:22. The LEAP KKV strikes the MARV's guidance section directly. The guidance electronics, the passive radar seeker, and the infrared imaging array are destroyed in the kinetic impact. The MARV's warhead section, however, remains structurally intact. The Pukguksong-3's warhead, 650 kilograms of hardened steel and high explosive, is now an unguided ballistic projectile, falling toward the Sea of Japan on a free-fall trajectory, computed from the moment of guidance destruction. The unguided warhead's projected impact point, computed in real time by the Bunker Hill's Aegis system from the trajectory data at the moment of intercept, is a dispersed ellipse with a long axis of approximately 4.1 nautical miles, centered 1.8 nautical miles northeast of the Theodore Roosevelt's current position. Within that ellipse, the carrier has a non-trivial probability of being struck. The Roosevelt is maneuvering hard. She has covered 2.1 nautical miles since the evasion order. She is still turning. The ellipse is shifting as the Aegis system refines the freefall trajectory every 0.3 seconds. At 2:34:49, 6 minutes and 38 seconds after launch, the Pukguksong-3 warhead section impacts the Sea of Japan at terminal velocity. The impact point is 1,140 meters northeast of the USS Theodore Roosevelt. At 1,140 meters, the impact of a 650-kilogram hardened steel warhead at terminal velocity generates an underwater shockwave equivalent to a 400-kilogram TNT detonation at standoff distance. The shockwave reaches the Roosevelt's hull as a 0.3 G impulse, similar in magnitude to the effect experienced by the USS Nimitz from the Fateh torpedo, near miss in the Arabian Sea 3 months earlier. Non-structural. No flooding. No casualties from the shock load itself, but close enough that every sailor on the ship feels it through the deck plates, and close enough that every damage control team aboard goes to immediate readiness without being ordered to. 1,140 meters. That is the margin between a near miss and a hit on a carrier with 5,100 personnel aboard. The second SM-32A, the backup interceptor, was not needed. The second and third rounds are recalled to safe standby mode via the Aegis system's post-intercept protocol. But the engagement is not over, because the Sinpo-C has 4 launch tubes, and the intelligence community's assessment of her patrol posture, which estimated, with moderate confidence, that she carried only 2 operational Pukguksong-3 rounds based on observed loading activity at the Sinpo submarine base, was itself based on imagery collected before the submarine departed on this patrol. Imagery that did not show the second set of missiles being loaded at a dispersed facility 14 kilometers from the main base, on a night when cloud cover prevented satellite collection. The Sinpo-C carries 4 Pukguksong-3 rounds. She has fired one. At 2:36:17, 7 minutes and 38 seconds after the first launch, the E-2D Sentry 4-1 registers a second launch transient from the same datum area. 1 second later, a third. 2 simultaneous launches. The Aegis system on the Bunker Hill processes both tracks in 3.1 seconds. 2 Pukguksong-3 MARVs launched in a ripple sequence 12 seconds apart on slightly diverging trajectories that bracket the carrier's projected position from 2 different bearings. The second missile computing an impact solution from the northeast, the third from the east. The Roosevelt cannot turn toward one without presenting her beam to the other. The Bunker Hill fires her remaining SM-32A inventory, 5 rounds, in a prioritized engagement sequence, 3 against the northeastern track, 2 against the eastern track. The USS Russell and USS Kidd are firing SM-2 rounds in terminal defense mode. The Paul Hamilton adds her own SM-3 IB rounds, an older variant, less capable against the Pukguksong-3's terminal maneuver profile, but the only additional exo-atmospheric interceptor asset available in the strike group. At 2:39:44, the Bunker Hill scores a clean SM-32A leap kill on the northeastern Pukguksong-3 at 390 kilometers altitude. The MARV is destroyed completely, guidance section, warhead, and all. No debris falls within range of the carrier. The eastern track is harder. The Paul Hamilton's SM-3IB, the first interceptor assigned, misses. The Pukguksong-3's MARV executes a 3.2G terminal maneuver at 88 kilometers altitude, outside the IB variant's optimal engagement envelope. The KKV passes 430 meters from the MARV. The Bunker Hills SM-32A, the backup, intercepts at 71 kilometers altitude. The LEAP KKV achieves a partial intercept, striking the MARV's aft attitude control section and destroying the guidance system, but leaving the warhead structurally intact for the second time in this engagement. Another unguided warhead falling. Another freefall ellipse computing on the Bunker Hills tactical display. The Roosevelt is maneuvering at maximum speed on a course that her captain has been modifying every 30 seconds based on the Aegis system's real-time ellipse projections. He is not guessing. He has the data. He is executing the most precise evasion geometry available to a 104,000-ton warship at 31 knots in the Sea of Japan. At 2:42:51, 14 minutes and 40 seconds after the first launch, the second unguided Pukguksong-3 warhead impacts the Sea of Japan. Impact point, 2,280 meters southeast of the Roosevelt's current position. The shockwave is weaker at this distance, barely perceptible aboard the carrier, 280 meters farther than the first impact. The evasion geometry worked better on the second intercept. The strike group goes to maximum defensive alert. The Springfield, having received continuous updates via underwater acoustic data link throughout the engagement, is already sprinting west toward the Sinpo-C's assessed launch datum at maximum speed. P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft from VP-4, based at Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni in Japan, are airborne within 11 minutes of the first launch and proceeding to the datum at maximum cruise speed. A second Hawkeye is vectored to cover the eastern approaches. The Sinpo-C's commanding officer knows his position is compromised. The moment the first missile broke the surface, his submarine ceased to exist as a covert asset. He drives deep, 260 meters, the maximum safe depth for the Sinpo-C class, based on U.S. assessment of its hull construction, and initiates an evasion sprint northwest at 9 knots. He is heading for the relatively shallow waters off the Korean coast, where the acoustic environment becomes more favorable for a diesel-electric submarine, and where the proximity to North Korean territorial waters creates political constraints on U.S. prosecution. He does not launch his fourth missile. Whether this is a decision based on operational security, on a failure of the fourth tube's launch system, or on an order received via ELF communication from Pyongyang in the minutes following the first launch, the U.S. intelligence community will spend the next 6 months debating. The fourth missile is never fired. At 3:14:22, 46 minutes after the first launch, a P-8A sonobuoy field scores a possible contact 38 nautical miles northwest of the launch datum. The Springfield, approaching from the south, begins coordinating with the P-8A on a systematic barrier prosecution. At 3:47:08, the contact becomes definite. The Sinpo-C has increased speed to 11 knots while maneuvering around a sonobuoy barrier, and the speed increase has raised her acoustic signature above the detection threshold of the P-8A's AN/SSQ-62 DIFAR sonobuoys. The 7th Fleet Commander authorizes offensive action at 03:51. The prosecution authority transfers to the Springfield as the closest asset with a prosecutable contact. The Springfield fires 2 Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes at 03:53:17 on a firing solution developed over the previous 6 minutes of contact tracking. The first Mark 48 acquires the Sinpo-C at 1,800 meters range on its active seeker and guides to intercept. At 3:55:04, the weapon detonates against the submarine's pressure hull at 190 meters depth. At 3,000 tons submerged displacement, the Sinpo-C is larger and more structurally robust than the Fateh class. She does not break apart immediately. She floods. Her reactor plant scrums automatically on the flood detection signal. She begins sinking, losing depth control, her crew fighting to close bulkhead doors and pump ballast. The second Mark 48 detonates against her hull 44 seconds after the first. The combined effect of 2 Mark 48 detonations against a partially flooded submarine at 190 meters is catastrophic. The pressure hull collapses in the engineering section. The Sinpo-C sinks to the bottom of the Sea of Japan in 1,700 meters of water. 86 men go with her. The strike package against North Korean ballistic missile infrastructure is authorized by the National Command Authority, not by CENTCOM or USFK pre-delegation, but by the President directly, in a decision made in the Situation Room at 14:22 Washington time, following a 2-hour NSC deliberation. The authorization is for a targeted, limited strike against 3 specific infrastructure nodes: the Sinpo-C's home base facility at Sinpo, the Pukguksong-3 assembly and storage facility assessed at Hamhung, and the Korean People's Navy Submarine Force Command node at Wonsan. B-2 Spirit bombers from the 509th Bomb Wing at Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, are already airborne. They have been in the air since the first missile launch, launched on alert under the pre-delegated Nuclear Adjacent Crisis Authority that keeps B-2S airborne anytime a nuclear-capable ballistic missile is fired at a U.S. carrier. They carry GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, the 13,600-kilogram bunker-busting bombs designed specifically to defeat hardened underground facilities, alongside JASSMER missiles for surface target engagement. At 6:31:44, 4 hours and 3 minutes after the first Pukguksong-3 launch, the first GBU-57 impacts the Sinpo submarine base's hardened missile storage facility. The 13,600-kilogram penetrator burrows through 6 meters of reinforced concrete before the warhead detonates. The storage facility, assessed as containing 4 to 6 additional Pukguksong-3 rounds in various stages of assembly, is destroyed. Post-strike seismic sensors detect secondary detonations consistent with solid fuel propellant ignition in the storage area, burning for 2 hours. The Hamhung assembly facility takes 2 GBU-57 impacts in sequence. The first penetrator opens the facility. The second detonates inside the compromised structure. The facility is destroyed. The Wonsan Submarine Command Node, a partially hardened facility assessed to house the Korean People's Navy's Submarine Force Operational Staff, is engaged by 6 JASSMER missiles. 4 impact the command building and associated communications infrastructure. 2 impact the pier facilities used by the Sinpo-C class for final outfitting before patrol. Post-strike imagery shows the command building destroyed, the pier facilities damaged but partially functional. The fog of war arrives in the assessment phase. Signals intelligence collected in the 36 hours following the strike shows that the Wonsan command node's primary communications function, the circuits that would have directed any additional Sinpo-C submarine operations, had been transferred to an alternate facility 7 hours before the strike. Not because the Koreans anticipated the strike timing, because the transfer was a pre-planned protocol, triggered automatically when a Sinpo-C submarine initiated a combat launch sequence. Standard operational security. The alternate facility, located in a hardened underground installation 22 kilometers north of Wonsan, was not on the strike target list. It was not known to U.S. intelligence as a functional operational node. It is catalogued, post-strike, as a priority target for any follow-on action. Pyongyang's response, delivered via KCNA at 9:47 local, claims the launches as a legitimate defensive response to U.S. military adventurism, threatens annihilating nuclear counterstrikes against American bases throughout the Asia-Pacific, and demands immediate withdrawal of all U.S. forces from Korea and Japan. It does not acknowledge the loss of the Sinpo-C or her crew of 86 men. In Washington, Tokyo, and Seoul, the immediate question is not what happened. What happened is documented in extraordinary detail in the strike group's engagement logs, the E-2D's radar recording, and the P-8A's acoustic prosecution record. The question is what comes next. Whether the Sinpo-C that was lost was the KPN's only operationally deployed Sinpo-class submarine, or one of two. Whether the fourth Pukguksong-3 that was not fired is now aboard a different submarine. Whether the Hamhung assembly facility was the only production source, or one of several. Here at Navy Legends, January 19th, 2027, is the day a North Korean submarine launched nuclear-capable ballistic missiles at a U.S. aircraft carrier in international waters. Not a test. A combat launch. 2 warheads fell into the Sea of Japan within 1,140 and 2,280 meters of the USS Theodore Roosevelt. The Bunker Hill's SM-32As destroyed the guidance systems of both. The carrier's evasion removed her hull from the impact ellipses. The crew of 5,100 came through the most dangerous 14 minutes in the history of U.S. carrier aviation intact. But 3 intelligence failures combined on that morning. The Pukguksong-3 terminal guidance assessment was wrong. The Sinpo-C missile load count was wrong. And the assumption that the submarine would approach from the western axis was wrong. Each failure manageable alone. Together, they produced a situation where 2 unguided ballistic warheads fell into the Sea of Japan instead of onto a flight deck. The SM-32A is not designed to be the last line of defense. On January 19th, it performed as the primary defense. The margin it produced was 1,140 meters. Stay informed. Stay vigilant.